Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Opera came out when it was like a classic Euro, I guess. You know, they pasted a theme on something, and here you see them trying to get away from that usual Renaissance theme. They're good in opera houses, and you try to profit off those opera houses. I think it's actually a very, very neat theme that they put onto this. Some people look at this and say, oh, opera, boring, blah, 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 but it's just something different that you're going to be going through, and building these opera houses is fun and unique. This is a very good game for the first 2/3 of the game, and then the last third of the game kind of falls off the rails and keeps it from being like a 9 to probably a 6 or a 7, maybe even a 5 for some of you. The money just becomes too abundant as the game goes on, and you become so wealthy that nothing costs anything anymore, and it doesn't matter, and you kind of run out of things to do. The other problem with the game is that if somebody gets ahead, you need to be cutthroat and super aggressive for this game to work. If people are just kind of holding back, I don't feel like the game works as much. Well, you're going to need to attack the leader, you're going to need to go after other people, and you're going to need to be super aggressive in this game for it to work. I feel like the game is best with 4, but it does slow down a little bit with 4. If you played with 3, I think you're fine, but I think 4 is really where the game is going to shine, but it's not without its flaws at 4 either. In Opera House, I think what's really cool is choosing different characters and be able to bid on them and be able to utilize their different powers. I think that's a really neat concept. And I do like the aspect of the game of going through the opera houses and trying to create the most income, etc. I think all of that works brilliantly. The game does, for the first 2/3 of the game, give you wonderful, interesting decisions. I really like the first 2/3 of the game and what is going on, but the last third must be played to finalize the game, and it is going to be a bummer and let you down. It's one of those movies that aren't very good, but at the end they're fantastic, and you go home and you talk about it. This game is fantastic, and the ending stinks, and that's what you leave and you remember with, is the ending. It isn't very good. If you're into this sort of Euro-themed game, I think it's definitely worth going back and checking this one out. Your mileage may vary, and your experience may be very different than the one that we had. Opera just squeaks itself out as a keeper for us. We like the theme. We really like what's going on here. The end game does probably going to lead it to be a Purge at some point, but for now, we do want to keep revisiting this one, and it is something different with the theme, and that goes a little ways with us, but enough for us to keep this game. Here is Opera, which is kind of a Ticket to Ride sized box. It's pretty attractive on the cover. You can see an opera is going on. Open it up, you get a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. You're going to get an advertisement for some of the games they were releasing at the time. And you're going to get a board with all kinds of components inside. So these will be the little screens that you'll put inside of you. Half is English, half is German, but it'll have a lot of the scoring and the round information on it. These will be the nice cardboard buildings you'll have that come in different shapes and halls. But they're very good quality. Tell you the number of players on the back, etc. Going to get some coins. These are nice cardboard coins. I should note there's not enough in the game to play. In the last round or two, you'll be running out of these. These will be the different actions you can take and the different composers that will be in the game. The artwork is probably not unique. I don't know that it's made just for this game, but these are really nice components. You're going to get a whole bunch of these little small tiles of the composers and stuff. These are fairly good quality that you'll be utilizing during the game. They have the notes on the back. You can see that the people are, because you'll be randomly drawing these at times to refill the board. So here's the board. You're going to have a victory point chart around it. You're going to have a place where you'll put these out, and then these will go over here, and they'll move up and down. You have the places on the board. Everything is very well put out. You have the budgets that you'll be betting on over here, and the round markers at the top. So it's a really nice board. The powers of what these guys do are listed here in icons. The board is very pretty and very attractive. So here's the rule book for Opera. It's a picture of the front of the box. You're going to have very small print, and you're going to have this side, which will be German. And then when you open up the other side and upside down, you're going to have the English. And as you go through, you're going to have a picture of setup, a list of the components, but you can easily see them all going to be here. And then you're going to jump into the order of the game. There's plenty of pictures and examples that will kind of walk you through this. Now, we did have some rules questions. So here, there'll be like an overflow. And then we're going to jump down into what the employees will do and some more nitty-gritty about the game. You have a game example here, an entire turn of the game taking each of the actions. And that's pretty nice. We did miss a couple things going through. It's organized okay, I guess. The font is small. You just have to be very, very careful. There's quite a few things going on, and you'll miss them if you're not careful. And the scoring is a little weird, how you only score the one building. Then when you use Esperto, he scores everybody. He's got to be aware of that. I think this game would have been a little bit better if somebody would have taught me versus trying to read it from the book. I'd give the book probably a 6.5 out of 10. I'm going to go over a quick turn in the game. So whenever you're bidding, you'll be using these coins that you'll be utilizing during the game. So what's going to happen is, to start out, each player is going to blind bid and then pay whatever you bid. And you can pay, the first round everybody will kind of start here, and you can bid up to a maximum of 10. Because if you get to 10, you go all the way to the top. So let's say red bid 6, blue bid 6, and he would go on the second sit. Green bid 7, he would go up. And then if they bid 9, they would go all the way up. And then as the round goes, you'll be spending these, let's say, and these will all change. Maybe something in this regards. Then in the next round, when you bid, you're going to pay whatever you bid, and then red will move up first. Then yellow will move up, so they bid the same amount. They would go here. Green outbid them, they would go up there. And then maybe blue would go here when they bid. So that's how the bidding is going to work. Now, when you take an action, it's whoever's further up and to the more left. So green would take the first action, say it cost him 3. He would take his action, and then red would go next. Now, there is a circumstance where, let's say green bid all the way at the top, and he wanted to purchase one of these guys. He'd say he wanted to purchase the Impresario. It costs 3. So 1, 2, 3, he would take his action, and then he would get to go again because he's the most up on the left. So that's how that's going to work. Now, these first 3 are the possible actions, and these are other 3. What's unique about these 3 is that when somebody takes one of these 3 actions, everybody else can follow. So the first player will pay the cost that's on here. So let's say the Impresario, and he'll go 1, 2, 3, and he will go there. And then after he takes the action, red can take the action. For each time he takes that action, up to 2, because it tells you here 2, Signor can be done once, he will come down 1. And then maybe he'll do it again, taking that action. So you can only follow on these 3. These 3 you cannot follow. So, and then Impresario is going to let you buy some of the composer's work, which represent the work. And these will be out here on them. And this will be seated each round. And you will simply pay the cost associated with it. So if I wanted to buy this orange one, it would cost me 5. And if I wanted to buy the yellow, it would cost me 1. And that would go behind my screen. Or I could fill them up. Only when I take the Impresario, I could put them in my buildings and rearrange everything. We'll come back to these buildings in just a second. But this is how you're going to be able to buy the operas and rearrange them in your buildings. The Architectio allows you to buy these buildings, and these will be available as you go through for the different cities on the board. Each little one you buy is worth 2 victory points and costs $2. So I was going to buy something like this. It would be $6 and 6 victory points. But you can only buy 2 tiles on a turn. And you'll be filling these up with operas as you go through the game. The Signor is going to let you sell into the Palazzo. There's only a spot for 4 of these. And once you have one there, so for example, let's say it was filled up like this with yellow and blue, I could not sell a second blue here. The Palazzo only wants 1 of each. And what you're going to get here when you sell one is you're going to get the number of victory points. If I sold a yellow, I would get either 1 victory point or double the coins, which would be 2. If somebody was to sell the blue, I could get 6 victory points, which is the most, or 12 coins. And that's how that's going to work. This is a great source of money during the game. Now, the Maestro is going to be a little different. When you get him, you can put him on any city. And once he's on a city, he has to move somewhere. So I couldn't stay in Milano twice if somebody selected him. If nobody selects him, he would stay there. And basically what he's going to do, he's going to double the income during the income phase, which we'll get to in a second, of whatever city he's in. Then you're going to have the Critico, and what he's going to do is he's going to go to any city. Once again, he has to move to a new city if selected. If not selected, he'll stay there. And any composer that's in that city. So let's say, for example, I have Mozart in Berlin. I can choose Berlin, and I could choose him, and he can move down to, or somebody could move up. And this will decrease their price, how many victory points they're worth, and how many dollars they could be worth. So that's how you would change the order of this. Then you have the Esperto. What he's going to do is, once again, works the same way. You got to move him to a new location. Let's say I also moved him to Berlin. Then he would score every building you have in Berlin that has composers. So in this case, let's say I had something along the lines of this, and when I'm putting these out, I can never have the same composer in the same city. Other players can, but I cannot. So I would score 4 for Mozart, 2 for Handel, and 6 for Monteverdi. So that would be 6, 7, 8, 12 points. And I would score all those. Then whatever one is worth the most, in this case Monteverdi, I would have to give to whoever's last place in victory points. And then everybody else who has somebody in Berlin may score that same way. Whenever somebody chooses to not take an action when it's their turn to choose, let's say yellow, it's their turn to choose, they don't want to, they will pass. Once everybody's passed or cannot afford to take any more actions, then the round will end. Keep in mind, a player can only choose 3 actions. Once they have 3 of these in front of them, they can no longer choose a 4th one. Now, if you say I chose Impresario on my turn and I followed the rest of them, that does not count against me. After that, you're going to score income. You're going to look at each of your opera houses in each city and determine how many composers you have in there, and that'll be how much income that you'll get. So you're going to get money at the end of each round. When you get to these scoring rounds, so at the beginning of the game, each of these little parts right here will have a different composer on it, telling you that you're going to get a bonus for each of these. So every time you score Beethoven here, you're going to get an extra point, if you can kind of see that up there. So then let's go back to my example here that I have in Berlin. At the scoring period, you only score whoever you have in the first one. In this case, I'm going to score Mozart, which will be 4 points. If it happened to be this gentleman, I would get an extra bonus points for it. So I would score 4 victory points for this. After you get through 9 rounds of doing the same thing over and over and over again, whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. And that's a quick overview of how you play opera. Who should buy this game? Look, if you're in opera or opera houses at all, this is a fun game to have, and it's historically accurate, and I think that it works very well. If you don't mind a little bit of dry Euros, this will go in. And this is kind of a light to medium weight type of game. It's not a whole lot going on to it, but it's definitely above like the Ticket to Rides and the Pandemics and all that. It's going to be a little bit heavier than that, so I'd probably put it squarely in the medium weight. Wouldn't really call it a family game, but something that you could really, really enjoy. Just kind of know that it kind of falls off the rails in the 2/3 of the game in the last third. Now, there are so many better Euro games on the market. It's really hard to recommend this game. And I'm going to squarely just recommend it for opera fans. If you're into that theme, and the theme really speaks to you, or you want to play an old classic Euro game, you can find this at a reasonably good price. Those are all reasons to play it. Otherwise, I hate to say it, but you might want to steer clear of this one. It just squeaks out being a keeper for us due to the theme, but it could definitely be a Purge in the future.